Welcome to another edition, the Motivational Sundays with Kevin and friends. Let me tell you, there's a power greater than me that's trying not to make this show happen because we're going to do our table talk. This show was originally created from the more than 300 quotes that I had for the contents of my books. I was always curious of how quotes landed on other people, whether just words that lay there on the page or whether the conversation to be had. Since 2024, the show is taking a little twist. Once a month, we're going to do a table talk, and this week we're going to be talking about Black History Month. It's today is still January. Next week will be the beginning of Black History Month. I don't know why we just have a month. Most of us are Black, or all of us are Black, 366 days a year. Yeah, I said 366 because I get an extra day because I'm special. If you guys want to join me, feel free to do so. So we're also going to bring our quote. We're going to our voice. I am joined by some very special people. Let me go ahead and introduce all of my co-hosts. Miss Larnez Kinsey. She is an exciting entrepreneur, change maker over there on the East Coast. So from there, we have a activist, a lady of history, a queen, LeVar Seymour. She is the first time joining us as a co-host. We have our thespians. We have Naheem Garcia. He's got a nominated film out, Holdover, that he is one of the co-stars in. We have Otis, the voice of our show. You're going to hear a lot of him today. I'm going to tell you, James Earl Jones, thank God you retired because Otis is coming. All right. We just had Christopher James. He's riding solo today. Gilda's recovering from their anniversary trip from Hawaii, and we'll hear about that later on. And we have our spoken word artist, teacher, educator, and soon to become activist because she's fighting for our young children in the Boston public school area in order to make things right for our melanated children. And I, Kevin McLemore, I am the show host. We are going to jam today. All right, so get ready. We're going to learn a lot. On today's top table talk, I don't know where to start. Do we focus in on slavery and freedom, Jim Crow era, the fight for civil rights, or the sacrifices Martin, Malcolm, Harriet, Edgar made, or the music, our art, and inventions, or just the history that our children are not being taught and why they should be proud of who they are 366 days a year. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the mic to the voice, and he's going to give our quote, and then we'll open up our show about the table talk of Black history.
All righty. Good morning. In every encounter, a profound exchange unfolds, a wordless dialogue resonating with richness of shared experiences and the depth of unspoken wisdom.
We're going to go around the horn real quick and just talk about the quote real quick. Lanez, you brought this quote to us. We had talked about we're bringing back Black history. We're going to come back to the Black history question, but let's talk about the quote. How's that quote land on you, and what motivated you to share that with the group?
Well, I was searching for a quote from last week, and good day, everyone. I love this quote because I live on wordless dialogue. That's how I engage with people. But what we don't realize is when we meet people, any person, right? They're looking at you to see your reflection of yourself. So they know how to deal with you. They know how to treat you because they're seeing how you treat yourself. We don't realize this. We get so stuck in our cycle of, I got to do this, I got to do this. When a person, maybe, matter of fact, this is a perfect example. Me and Manuel were in Rockland County eating pizza. He went outside to have a cigarette. I'm watching him because we're in Rockland County. I'm not from here. So I want to make sure you okay. The only homeless person at 10 p.m. in Rockland County came down the block and was talking to Manuel outside because he asked him for a cigarette. So now when Manuel comes in the store, I say, Manuel, what did you learn from him? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, it's 10:30 at night. There's hardly no one outside. The one, and I'm telling you, there was no homeless people outside. The one homeless man came down the block and asked you for a cigarette. What else did he say? and he told me what he said, he was like, thank you. I didn't even realize how important the conversation was, how he changed my view. So I say this, a lot of people believe they're very intelligent, and they are, but books give us knowledge. Our lens give us wisdom. And that's how this quote hits me.
All right. I know that that was a lot. And Emmanuel's very deep. I miss him. Deep young brother. And I hope that our listening audience, Larnez's words lands on you and stays on you and puts a little pressure in your chest to make you think. Christopher James, how does this quote land on you?
I love the quote first off. I mean, it's beautiful. But what resonates with me is not so much what I'm sharing, what I'm bringing, but it gives me the recognition or the acknowledgement or just the thought that what the other person is going to say, what the other person has to offer, what the other person is bringing to the conversation is valuable. It's important. It's not to be dismissed. I have a couple conditions. One of them is I have chest pains a lot. And so I'll cross my arms and sort of, apply pressure to ease the pain. I realized in school that a lot of people saw that as I don't want to be bothered. Don't talk to me. Leave me alone. And it wasn't until I explained that it's primarily angina that caused me to do that. People understood and would dismiss that. But that did cue me to the fact that body language is half of the speech right there. So I got over that. But what I more importantly got out of life and what I really love about this quote is that it triggers me, it reminds me that what the other person has to say is extremely important. And of course, by all means, take in all aspects of this communication, but listen. I mean, truly listen and allow them to recognize that you are in fact listening. Don't bottle yourself up. Don't put the scrunchy face on, because I do that a lot. Allow them to express themselves, because every single time I found that what they had to say was important. What they had to say was vital. What they had to say told me a little bit more about them. But just as important, the way I received it allowed them to see a bit about me too.
All right. All right. We have to be mindful on how we position ourselves in the space that we're in and how people are interpreting your message, even though it's unspoken. We all deliver a certain something about ourselves and whatever. And we want to make sure that when we're present, we're clear.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Vera Seymour. All right. Our brand new co-host. I'm going to tell you, this lady over here in the Philadelphia area, especially in the melanated community, I'm going to say Black community. I'm stop saying that. She's got some power. I mean, it crosses a couple bodies of water outside of our country. She's got some power. And thank you for the honor and allowing me to speak at Martin Luther King. And thank you for being one of our co-hosts today. How does this quote land on you?
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be here, and nice to meet everybody. I like the quote. I had an experience yesterday. I went to meet a dog. The dog is named Chestnut, brand new for me. But when I got to the community, it was out in Pottstown, and I already had my thoughts. I'm on Zoom. I'm talking, so you'll have to go to your room. Thank you. So, it's Pottstown. So already in my mindset, I have everything going on to what I feel Pottstown is. Now, Pottstown is actually very big, so it's not the inner city of Pottstown, which I did not know. So anyway, I'm on the outskirts of Pottstown, and I'm going to meet this dog, and I'm presented with 4 people that I don't know, and in my mind, I'm going to, oh, I'm African American. I'm in this community. How is this going to go off? Left the whole thought of the dog. When I got to the house and I got out of the car, the dogs bark, but they come up and say hello. So now I'm at ease because now not only am I at ease, but the people are at ease because the dogs are at ease. So I'm there. We're meeting the dogs, and not only do I meet the dog that I'm looking for, I meet another dog who is like the best friend of the other dog. So in the midst of this encounter, I'm looking at the gentleman who is wanting to replace the dog. In his mindset, I'm actually hearing it would be nice if the two dogs could go together. And so I asked the question, well, what about the other dog? Because I had heard from the lady who I was having conversation with that he has a dog, but that dog is already placed. So anyway, the full encounter at ease, I have two dogs. And like them both, they're both female. I did not really want two females, but the encounter made me think, wow, this just really could happen. This could be more than what I thought in my brain. Like my brain just gave me a whole different thought pattern. I took my daughter with me, who actually only wanted one dog, but after we made that encounter, I could see her smiling that this would be okay. I could see the person that I had been holding the conversation with about the one dog become at ease with what was happening. So I'm really in tune to what an encounter can do at any given moment. It can be quite different from what your mind has going on. That encounter can actually contact your heart and your mind together, and the whole situation can change from what you're thinking. So I'm very much I'm appreciative of what this encounter is today, because I did see it in person yesterday, and today I'm at ease because of it. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's amazing. And we should take examples from our canine friends because they know one thing. They give love no matter what. All right. We need to learn how to love. No matter what you do, no matter what you say you're having a bad day, the dog's always ready to love. Animals always ready to love. All right. So with that said, Naheem Garcia, Otis, give the quote one more time.
Absolutely. In every encounter, a profound exchange unfolds, a wordless dialogue, resonating with richness or shared experiences and the depth of unspoken wisdom.
Naheem.
In my classes, I spend a lot of time teaching young people about acting and what is the job of an actor. And the job of an actor is to listen and respond. And while I'm listening to everybody's story, I think about the one story when I'm in Springfield with my mentors when they were alive, Jim and Linda Spruill, Patton Spruill.
I know them.
And yes, I know you do. And we are in Springfield having some dinner, and this guy walks in. There are a lot of people, not too many people there, but he's standing there. He's looking like a homeboy, and he's looking around. And he approaches me, and he begins to have a conversation. Yeah, he's trying to feel nice conversation, nothing bad. He got what he needed to get and left. And my Linda goes, "You know why he approached you, right?" I said, "No, I don't know why he approached me. Everybody else was there." He said, "Because you're the only thing that he could relate to." And I said, "What do you mean? We're all Black." He said, "Yeah, but you're the only one that kind of fit the description of somebody he could relate to." I said, "What do you mean? You're wearing the gold chain, you got the rings." This is back almost 30 years ago. Wearing the gold chain, you got the boom, you got the hat. He looked like he just came out of prison and he couldn't relate to anybody in here except you. And it wasn't nothing bad. He basically was very kind. We spoke and he left. But the exchange was enlightening because I felt like, well, I don't look like a hood, he says. And then Jim said, it's not that you look like a hood. You just look like somebody he can relate to. And he felt trustworthy. And you look trustworthy to him, and he approached you because the other guy over there he didn't want to talk to, and the other person he didn't want to talk to, whatever you. And that tends to happen a lot. People tend to, I could go somewhere and not be the person that works there or is a part of it. But for some reason, people want to approach you and approach me and ask me for help. And I'm looking around like, I don't work here. Why are you asking me for anything?
Mm.
But it's because you have that demeanor of somebody that people can come to and ask for help. So I don't know if I even hit what the quote was about, but I get based on what's going on that every encounter is important. And don't judge a book by its cover. You never know what that conversation will take. You never know what that person might get out of you and be able to, I may have not gotten anything out of it, but he may have gotten something out of it. And that's what's important.
The most amazing thing about you, Naheem, both on the big screen and in real life, you are by far one of the most approachable people. You literally, when you smile, you have the welcome mat comes out. It's like, and then you got a little chuckle
I better work
behind
on
that.
that then. I better work on that smile of mine and maybe try to put a frown on it or something.
No, you don't, that's not part of your character. That's not in your soul.
Yes,
You
thank
know,
you.
you're where the light is in darkness. And you were the love when people are trying to hate. You're the example of what a good human being is. Okay.
Thank you,
And
brother. Thank you very much.
all
Thank
right.
you.
Denise, all right, a lady of a spoken word. She's got a new book coming out. Um, she's gone through some trauma and she's overcome that, come on the other side. Like I said, life doesn't become easy until you overcome what's difficult. And this is a champion. This is not only a disciple of how we live our life. She is a warrior queen. All right, strong. All right. How does this work? This quote land on you?
Thank you. Right now I'm practicing quiet power, so it's going nice for me at work. So my silence has power. Um for me, this quote reminds me of my grandmother. She used to say, when you encounter somebody, leave them better than you found them. Um, so I always try to listen, like Chris said, like listening to someone, because you never know what somebody's going through. And maybe you're the only person that listened to them, that made them make a different choice. I've experienced suicide, so within the family and friends. So for me, I'm always willing to listen to someone. One experience I had when I used to work in New Bedford, there was one student, her stepmom was being so mean to her, not giving her food. She would come to school wearing the little sister's clothes, like different shirts to make one shirt. And every day I would ask her how she's doing, like talk to her, until one day she broke down and told me everything that was happening. She was like, "You're the only person that listened to me, like ask me how I was doing," because nobody at home was asking me. Dad was not there. Dad would come home late. She was sleeping. Um, and I ended up calling crisis because she was crying, and they removed her from the house that day. And a few years later, because I moved to Brockton, I went to a Dunkin' Donuts, and she was the one serving me. Like I went to get my coffee. She
Mhm.
looked at me. She goes, "Miss Lopes?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "You remember me?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm going to UMass Dartmouth now. I'm starting this year." And she goes, "You saved my life." And she goes, "If you didn't do that, I wouldn't move." She moved to Brockton to her aunt. She goes, I would die. I would not survive the thing." And she was a eighth grader that year, and she came and went to high school. And for me, it's like I listen. If I wasn't paying attention and listen how she was doing, I would never know that she was going through all that at home. So for me, it's just I listen, I talk. I always have a smile, even if I'm not feeling like smile. Just sometimes smiling at someone would change their whole day. And the encounter, because you don't know if God is sending you to be that person's prayer, because somebody's praying for someone to help me. So it's like I'm somebody's prayer. And even if somebody does me wrong, they needed me at that time. God needed me to show them something different. So that's how I feel. And this quote is heavy, and it's true, very true.
And we all
Denise, you
carry.
said even,
Go ahead.
I, I said, Denise, you said that even if somebody does you wrong, they needed you at that moment. That's interesting. I never thought. I thank you. I just thank you
Yeah,
for
because
clarifying that.
God had to show them something different. Like, yeah, you
God
doing
had to
something
show them
wrong.
something different. Okay.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that person doesn't deserve what you did, like make you think about your stuff. So to me, it's like I was their prayer. I was supposed to change their perspective, or something in their life needed to change, and I was the one there. They heard the wrong person, so they did the wrong person wrong.
And that's why I said you're a warrior. You don't have to be on guard all the time, but you have to be present. So um, God made you his champion. Otis. All right, before we move on to talking about Black history and my share, one more time with the quote, and let's hear your take on that.
You're ready. In every encounter, a profound exchange unfolds, a wordless dialogue resonating with richness of shared experiences and the depth of unspoken wisdom. I guess there's a few different things that go through my mind. It could be, you know, even think of Rogers and Hammerstein, South Pacific. Some enchanted evening, you may see a stranger. You have that glance against someone that attracts to you. Just by that look, you know that you have a connection. Or it could be even yesterday at the memorial service, someone just putting their hand on your shoulder, caringly. That hug, caringly. And then I also think of the night that I dropped Gilda and Chris off. Here's this young kid at 1 o'clock in the morning riding around on a bicycle, circling the car. And of course, the first reaction, what the heck does this kid want? And at this late at night, is he here for trouble? What does he want? Chris gets out the car and like Linez with Manuel, oh, do you have a cigarette? So you get that impression. Everybody gives that impression, that body language, or just being in the wrong place where you shouldn't be that late at night.
Touch and just being present. Oh, um, you just made me think, Andrea, we love you. I'm sorry about your loss. One of our co-hosts, her mother was called home, and we want to send our condolences from all of us. I think it's okay that I speak for all of us because we all share the same heart. Um, we all share the same love for each other. So when I got this quote, when Larnez sent it to me, um, we've all been in the same room together at one point in time. I'm a professional listener. I study human behavior, but my grandfather told me a long time ago that God puts two people in a space, in the same space for a reason. And it takes a fool to walk away without saying hello. Every encounter, think about it. Every encounter of anyone came into your life, what happened? Hello. And how you reacted to the response of the hello. And so I'm going to leave it with hello to all of our new listeners and the people that have been listening to us, the 10,000 that listen, that share, whatever. I'm going to say thank you and hello with that. So now we're going to go into a conversation that definitely needs to be had. Again, where do we start? Do we start with the history of slavery? Do we start with the sharing of freedom? Do we start with the experience of Jim Crow? Do we start with the experience of living and experience the civil rights movement, or the many people like John Lewis, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Edgar, and many more? Do we start with Mahalia? Do we start with the Jacksons or anyone, or however our music came along, or do we start with the inventions of the street light and whatever? We had a lot of history that we could start with, but where do we begin? So they gave us a month, and I'm going to start with Naheem. The month of February and Black History Month. How does that conversation, how does that land? And just share with us, because I know we all have a feeling on that as people, Black people.
Well, February is a good month. It's my birthday month.
Oh, mine too.
Birthday.
And let's start with Black history. First of all, the people that for the last 50 something years I've been alive, it's always the same people that we continue to celebrate. And there were so many others that fought the struggle that we need to talk about. Not only that, when we talk about Black history, it needs to go past slavery. Because I think a lot of what's happening with Black History Month is reminding us of where we came from versus where we can go. We came from slavery. No, there was a life before slavery. There was freedom, and a different type of freedom. And even if there was slavery, it was a different type of slavery. It wasn't this inhumane slavery was an exchange among African people. Well, we're going to take your son for the next 7 years, and if he does good with us, he either buys himself out of the slavery or he becomes a member of the family. It wasn't this lock you up, beat you, and treat you like you were anything. Slavery itself is not a good idea. But again, Black history, there's so many people like the Embrace, to find so many activists that people didn't even know about. Malcolm, Martin, those people weren't alone. There were other people that were in the field doing the work that they couldn't do, doing some of the dark work they couldn't do. This conversation could go on for a long, long time, but Black History Month needs to be more than just the 5 or 6 Black people that have been famous throughout the year. There are people right here on the screen who wake up every day and go out and help people and help the community and do something to make our world better, just with a smile, just with the effort of making sure they pick up the trash in the community, just for going to a meeting or providing an opportunity for people to be on stage and talk about, who Martin, oh my God, Martin Luther King was. Or just the opportunity to make sure that the information is constantly being given to the people, the information that people don't get. One of the reasons why the SSBC was created was for that purpose, to make sure that our young people and our people in our community have access to this industry and the information that's provided for them. So Black history needs to be more than the 5 people that we celebrate, and Black history needs to be more than whatever happened, after slavery.
Spoken words, way to go. That's from the mouth of a king, Linus.
I completely agree with Naeem. Black history is not one day, right? We always lean on discovering information about our identity, but we always start from slavery. Why is that? Why is that always the go-to, right? First of all, slavery doesn't define us, right? If you go back, and Harriet Tubman is one of the people that I love, because if you look at the work she did, I was speaking to Kevin. I don't know if you remember this conversation, Kevin, but her blanket, right, were astrology stars. That's how she showed people the way, right? How did she know that? How did she put it together, right? Nowadays, we always look for resources to help say, that's wrong. Why do we do that? Right? Why do we need other people to acknowledge something is incorrect? We know it. We feel it, right? Act on that feeling. Know that, you know what? My intuition is right. I'm going to listen. I'm not going to think about what my spirit is saying. I'm just going to move because something in my spirit is saying, don't sit here. As we go through our life cycles and we go through circumstances and we learn our identity, a lot of times we try to share it. It's kind of like last week when I was talking about the men in the cave that were eager to tell everybody about the sun after they felt it. It's the same concept, right? But what we have to discover, and as Black people, as melanated people, as human beings, just being different colors of because where you were born at and the sun rays that hit us, right? We need to sit and tap in to our energy. We have to learn how to navigate our energy. We are a part of the universe. It's not just the color of our skin. And me personally, I come from a very racially divided family, right? I'm Spanish and I'm Black. My mom considers herself a white Puerto Rican. My father is Black. Growing up, I'm teaching my mother there's no such thing as a white Puerto Rican. I didn't ask you what color you were. I asked where you came from, what you resonate with. And as I educate my mother on certain things that I'm getting educated on at the same time, she combats me with, you think you know it all. And it's not that, because I don't. But when I'm reading information and I'm gathering things about my identity, it doesn't matter that logically I can't figure it out. But something that I'm reading and something that resonates with my spirit, I have to tune in with because it's revealing who I am. And a lot of times, us as melanated people, Black people, as human beings, we get distracted and diluted with the information that circles us, and we miss our purpose. And everyone has a purpose. And we miss the purpose because we're paying attention to the people around us instead of paying attention to us. So my words for this roundtable discussion is to tune into your experience, because that's the only thing that really matters. And if you are who you need to be, and you know you have faith in who you are and conviction and confident in your words, it doesn't matter what color you are, because you're going to touch the people's lives that you need to touch, and you're going to uplift the people who are around you. And I'm going to yield my mic with that.
Amen. And as Naheem said it, dirt does not discriminate. The sun does not discriminate. Water does not discriminate. And air does not discriminate. I just embellished on what you put on there, Naheem. My military veteran, my brother, much respect, celebrating milestone and anniversary. Christopher, please tell Gilda we miss her. Happy anniversary and welcome home. Christopher, Black History.
I always enjoy my trips to Hawaii. And it's funny, the military, the first time, actually the first 3 times for the military. But an interesting thing happens whenever I go to Hawaii. I see what a people are like when they are left alone, or more important, when they can step aside from that big white tide that comes over and washes over everything and say, hey, look, we have a history. We are a people. We will not simply be whitewashed over and become, I don't know, a thing. When Naheem and Inez were talking, and when we the idea is slavery has been, basically positioned to define us. The idea is slavery was meant to define us. Our entire history was ripped away from us and replaced with slavery. You basically start off at slavery. And as a result of that, we have no history. My week in Hawaii, I'm speaking with one of the tour guides who was absolutely phenomenal on Hawaiian history. And he was able to take us back, to the 15th, the 12th, even the 11th history, the 11th century, and explain how every single aspect of Hawaiian life was pretty much ordered. All right, it wasn't defined with gates and whatever. It was ordered to where every single person. Now, this is going to sound a lot like the movie Moana, but every single person had a purpose. Okay, they had their little part to do. There were kings. In fact, he described it as 4 different levels of autocracy. But basically, everybody understood their place and accepted it and knew their contribution was necessary, was needed. We came from a organization or a kingdom such as that, but that was instantly stripped away and replaced with slavery. Every other aspect of slavery throughout this entire planet's history has always been either, as Naheem described, paying off a debt or a loss due to war. And even in those cases, those slaves that were brought in as a result of a war were slowly integrated. That's not the right word, but were eventually integrated into that society, or given the chance to leave. But the bottom line was, those slaves basically represented a time period in that region's history where a war was fought and people won and people lost. The people that lost often became slaves, but that even in itself was history. Their previous history, their previous lives did not go away. They were simply slaves due to a lost battle. Okay, in other words, the call them masters if you want, took on the slaves as a result of war. In other words, they were like a victory gift. But even then, slaves had a history. And the thing that most impressed me about Hawaiian history and the fact that our history was ripped away from us has to do a bit with the people that decided that, okay, this is what we're going to do. We will simply take on slaves with money. We'll buy ourselves some slaves. We aren't going to get into a war. We aren't going to have a victory over a nation. We're just going to buy them up. Keep in mind, these particular Europeans who settled in this country came from a group of people that really weren't the best of people. They didn't have trailers back then, but they probably would be trailer kind of people. The bottom line was they came to America with the idea that, okay, we'll never have anything that we left in Europe. We will never be kings. We will never own a kingdom. We'll never have any great victories. But we can take on some of the emblems that great people have and just call ourselves great. We'll buy ourselves some slaves. We don't have to, go through all the bother of winning a war or taking over. We'll just bring them in, and best of all, they'll do all the work for us. Okay, but in order to make it work, they cannot have a history. So basically, a lot of the feelings that we have, a lot of the voids that we have in our own makeup, we're engineered, we're designed, we're taught, we're planned. Okay, so we have to overcome that first. But there was one more thing that Larnez said that really touched me. You got to realize who we are. I mean, not just as Black people, but as people on this planet. And I can't recall where I heard this, we are part of this universe. We are not just part of this planet, but even beyond that. Every single one of us is made of the same stuff that the stars and the planets are made of. We are made of stardust, okay? Every single one of us. So if we can get around the fact that we were told one history and removed from another, keep in mind this: we are still, no matter what they do, what they teach us, what they plan for us to be, we are still stardust. We are still made of this stuff that makes the entire universe. And just in that, we're great. Just in that, we're huge. Just in that, we're a lot bigger than any other principality can make us feel. We are made of stardust.
Yes, we are. We are. Let's leave it with that. We are. And that just rides on the star of the energy from Inez. Denise, let's see how this lands on you. If you notice, for those of you listening, I haven't said Black History Month. We're talking about Black history. We're talking about interpretation from people. And I will tell you, if you look at each and every last person on this podcast, we're making history right now. Making history. These are history makers. Where you stand right now, you're making history. Let's make it memorable. Denise.
Hi, for me, I'm Cape Verdean. So my island was where the slave trade happened. So they would take the slaves from different tribes, the people from different tribes, and they came to Cape Verde. Cape Verde was populated before the Portuguese, but they say they're the ones that populated Cape Verde. So my history is crazy because they took the slaves from different tribes, and they couldn't communicate. That's why Cape Verdean Creole came up, because they had to speak. And for me, I have a hard time when Cape Verdeans say they're Portuguese. They're not African, they're not Black. I'm 38% Portuguese because my great-great-grandfather was Portuguese. But I could claim both sides. It doesn't matter. You could claim both sides, but just claim the Portuguese side is not okay. For me, you need to know your history. In Cape Verde, they taught us the history in school. I know my history. I know my ancestors. They suffered. They fought for us to be here. And we had Amilcar Cabral, which is like Martin Luther King. They celebrate him a lot. And there were other peoples, like you said. And for me, when I got to America, that's when I start feeling like really like I'm black, like the discrimination. Because in Cape Verde, we have all different shades and things. We, like Lynette said, even the families, some of the families are divided because some of them are thinking they're white, and some of them they dark, and they really they're like, "You so beautiful for a black girl." Like, I'm beautiful, period. Don't tell me because I'm a black girl. So it's like those kind of things that I'm like, we need to educate ourselves, and we need to see our worth, and not only talk about the slavery and the stuff. Like, that was something for the Portuguese to dominate us. And for me, when somebody says they're Portuguese, I'm like, you don't take into account what your ancestor went through. They were beaten, they couldn't play their music, they couldn't do their dances, they had to forget their heritage, where they came from. They had to come up with a different culture, which is the Cape Verdean culture, because they couldn't go back to their family. They were stolen from their families, and they couldn't go back to that. So for me, it's hard when it comes to Black History Month, especially being the only educator of color at my school. I'm getting ready. My decoration for my room is already all set to just put it up. My whole bulletin board. I have a whole PowerPoint, because I don't pick just the people from America. I have all the other kids. So I'll pick like Pele and stuff from Brazil, like all the different people what they did. So my PowerPoint doesn't only have the people from here. So I'll explain to my students. Last year we did it at the other school. All the other teachers were showing it, and we said it in different language what that person was. So I don't know how it's going to be this year. I'm not feeling like, they didn't tell me anything yet. So I'm not feeling like, because I'm the Black person, going to tell you what you're going to do about Black History Month. I'm Black every day. I'm the blackest doing February, but I am. So for me, it's like educating our young people, because I don't think, as an educator, they don't know their history. And for me, the light skin, dark skin, I don't like it. Or the light skin brother, because the light skin, you were light skin, you were in the house working because you were lighter. You look like close to the people in the house, the masters. So for you to say, oh, a light skin is better, how about the darker skin that was working for you to have that life in the house? Because they were there suffering because you were there, but you were still a slave no matter what. So for me, it's like educating our young people. And for the Cape Verdean history, the kids are forgetting where they come from. Like, especially the one in America, they Americanized. They're not listening to the music, they like the food, the stuff. They're not doing that. And it's not their fault. For me, it's their parents. A lot of my friends, I speak only Cape Verdean Creole to my kids. A lot of my friends don't. They only speak English. So the kids don't even know the history. They don't even know how to pronounce certain stuff. And even in America too, you need to know your history in America. As a Black boy, especially as a Black boy, like my son, I'm like, you always have to have your identification. You need to know your surroundings, where you at. My son is light skin. But I'm like, you're always going to be a Black kid in America. Even if your skin is light, they're not going to say light skin, light skin. So I try to educate my kids at home, and I try to educate my students at school too. Like for Martin Luther King, a lot of them were like, oh, he fought for us to be here in school all together with the other kids. I'm like, yeah, because it was like kind of a cartoons they had. So it was like kids friendly to teach them what it's about, because they were like, why do we have the Monday off? The school didn't even say it why they had the day off. They just said we have the day off. Like, nobody introduced the kids to that. And for me, as educators, we need to start school, and it starts at home. It's a tough month for me because I see social media and all these stuff. And like Naheem said, we need to celebrate everybody else that's doing this stuff, because I always say the same people. And as a Black woman, as an educator of color, and for me, for most of my students, I'm like their mothers at school. So I'm going to try to educate my classroom, do my part in my classroom, and don't worry about what the school is doing, because like it's in 3 days that February starts, and hasn't been any conversation. I had a rough year, like trying to fight for my students. I'm going to continue to fight. I'm going to do the quiet power. I'm going to educate in my classroom, and I try to educate my friends and my people. I'm like, you need to teach your kids. Some people, they just go off on you. No, I'm not Black. No, you are. Look in the mirror every day. look at yourself. Because if you like, I have a coworker, she's black, but she's always with the white, like, oh yeah, they like you. Yeah, they like you until you're doing what they need from you. As soon as you stop, oh, you black, and they start. So just look in the mirror. See, look at your skin. Like they're gonna look like, we don't have to look at the skin. We are all human beings. But when we go to the society, they're not looking at us as human beings. They're looking at the color of our skin. So we need to start educating ourselves and see that part of us and just lead with love. That's what I do. I lead with love. Like I said, if you don't like what I have to say, you don't have to like me, but you will respect me. So that's what I'm going with, leading with love and silent power.
Leading with love and look in the mirror, because the only truth that comes back is the conversation you have with that person that reflects who you are. That's the truth. So, Vera, did I get to you?
You did not, but I do have to leave the meeting. It has
That's
been,
why.
it's
That's
very
why I want to
good.
go ahead and say it right now. Let's go ahead and hear your share.
Well, I just so you know, I do work in the community. I have picked up the Martin Luther King program. I've been doing that pretty much for about 20 years. And I'm on a new group. It's called Friends of Black History, that I'm the person that sets up all their shelves and, you know, in the library. So we're part of the library. And my thought this year was, don't put out the same thing. Put out something totally different, because there are people that we don't even know about. Find those people and put their information out. So that's what I did this year, and I felt very good about that. People actually came up and asked questions for these people. And I said, yeah, these are the people that nobody talks about. But these people are African American, and they have the history, and there were a mixture of them that I found throughout social media. So I was very proud to be able to set that up. Um, but it is history. It is history, and we need to know our history, and we need to be comfortable who we are. And I do like the Stardust. We're here for a purpose, each one of us. We all have that energy that we're working with, but it's very important for us to know that. Very interested in the Portuguese community. My grandson is a part of the Portuguese community, and I need to know how to help him to grow in that message, in that community, and still be who he is. So this was a very good conversation. I'm actually sorry I have to leave a little early.
That's okay. That's okay. We're doing a live show. We'll understand. All right,
Okay. I look
we'll
forward to
have you
seeing
back.
you again.
All right, we'll have you back. So Otis, the
Nice to meet
voice.
everybody.
Nice
All
meeting you
right.
too.
All right, Otis, the voice.
I guess my mind is all over the place on this, but something that's very out of this world, shall we take it? I'm a very big Ancient Aliens fan. And so they say, if it is true, that the Anunnaki, who means from the heavens to the earth we came, these ancient aliens came down to earth and they needed gold to mine their planet. And they found out that it was too difficult for them to mine this gold. And so, whoever and whatever beings that were living on this earth, they manipulated their DNA so that they can go out and do the work for them. And so called, this is what became man. So slavery came way before even the white man and anything else. It happens probably on many, many planets, which is quite unfortunate. Um, Other things that I have in the back of my head is thinking of Hollywood. Back in the day, they whitewashed what Black history was and the various things that happened. You look at Ben-Hur, you look at the King of Kings, you look at Cleopatra. Many of these people were Black like ourselves. What happens when the time that Christ comes back to find out that he looks like us? What do you think is going to happen? People are not going to believe it. Many Ethiopians are Jewish and they're Black. So there's a lot of history that people need to realize what you've been told is wrong.
You know something, You summarize that very well. What you've been told is wrong. So what's been taught and what's been caught and what we carry forward. You know, I'm listening to everyone, and a lot like you, Otis, Larnez, Denise, um, Naheem, Christopher, and Lavera. There's a lot of information. And the one thing that's been consistent through the conversation is truth. You know, I say when trying to understand history, especially Black history, remember, you know, every European white person was not a person that endorsed slavery. They were part of the free slave movement. They were part of humanitarian movement. They were part of that energy that wanted to level off everything. They believed that the dirt was dirt, air was air, you know, the water and everything else was here for everyone. There's only a very small sector of people trying to oppose what is true. So when we talk about history itself, my thing is just saying the truth. As far as Black people in general, we need to listen to the quote. We need to have these quiet exchanges of conversation where we listen and we learn. The matriarchs and the kings of our tribes, being our grandparents, the elders, or our neighborhoods where we should sit down and gather. These conversations were the same conversations that we're having, you know, from the tribes before we became slaves. We cannot erase slavery. We cannot erase the stories, but we need to continue to tell those stories so we understand how to move forward and function with the energy that we provide in this life. When I open the door for someone, I don't open the door as a Black man, even though people see me as a Black man. I don't open the door and say hello because I am your doorman or someone subservient to you. I'm doing what I do because I'm kind to everyone. And when I show up as Kevin McLemore. I show up as a representative of each and every last one of you on here. The nice thing about it is I am so proud to be Black. The nice thing about it, I'm so proud to be associated with my brothers and sisters that are of all different shades. And I'm so proud that I have a group of people that I can have conversations with them, that we can discuss the truth and not have to defend a position that we have no experience on. It's the truth that will set us free. It's the truth that will provide opportunity and will level out the playing field. And it's the energy that we share with the people that are in our presence that allows freedom to ring. So with that said, I know this episode of Motivational Sundays will probably not be the one that everyone shares. It won't be the one that everyone subscribes to. It's not going to be the most powerful or the most prolific conversation that you're going to have. But the 2 or 3 people that will share it and subscribe and whatever are the 2 or 3 people that in our society or in our lives that will make a difference. And I'm okay with that. You have to be the change that you want the world to see. You have to be the example that you want your children to be. If you want to be a hero that's true to your heart and your words. All right? Be that energy, Larnez.
Well, I have to correct you a little bit right there because what you speaking into the universe, sir, this is a shared podcast because we are speaking about important information.
Yeah.
And if you don't share, that means you're not on the frequency, and it's okay. Because when you get there, this is evergreen and you're going to still listen and you're going to share it when you need to.
Amen
All
to
right.
that.
All right. With that said, we have covered a lot of information. Like I said, if you get a chance to be in the presence of Larnez, Christopher, Denise, Naheem, Lavera, or Otis, or myself, sit back, listen, and learn because we're learning. And like Larna had said, share the freaking podcast. Okay. That's what she was saying. So thank you. We meet every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There will be an update with the Zoom link because we had some technical difficulties on my end this morning, and we had to create a new Zoom link. So on our social media, we will be changing that. And if you like what you heard, go to RMK Productions .org and you can subscribe. We're on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I think the only thing that I don't do is TikTok is because not enough words in it for me to in order to be part of it. So I I always get nervous when someone creates an acronym, but when they can't say the whole thing, I get nervous that something's there that I don't want to see. But anyway, that's just a joke on TikTok. So hopefully you don't take it personal. If you do, I don't care. But anyway, with that said, I'll see you next week. Talk to you later. Bye bye. And wait a minute. Wait a minute. Since Naeem's not here, Christopher.
Well,
Well,
we
Fate.
we've got to have the reach one, teach one. Come on.
Oh, that's right. You know something? I forgot. I'm a little off. My grandfather always said, when you get to a place in life that you can help someone else, it is your duty to do so. Reach one, teach one. And Christopher, with that said,
And now, fade to black.
all right. Thank you.
Hey.